954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesianicristo.
Good morning and welcome to INCRadio Florida. The time is now 9:31 here, and we'd like to thank all of you for tuning in here today. We're so excited to have all of you join us. Now, we know we have a broad spread of viewers, and that includes not just those that are watching here in Florida, that includes those that are watching actually all over the world, right? So we want to say good afternoon and good evening, especially to those that are tuning in from the Philippines. And there in the Philippines, it is 9:32 also, but not in the morning. It's 9:32 at night, right? So good evening to all of you who are tuning in from the Philippines. Thank you for joining us. I am one of your hosts today. I'm Sister Valerie Joy Ali. You can call me Sister Joy because I am certainly full of joy. And here I am in Orlando, the Sunshine State of Florida. I'm in the Orlando region, which is the central part of our state. Now, today we're experiencing a little bit of cloudiness. So our sunshine is hiding behind those clouds, and it is about 72 degrees here. So despite the fact that our sun is hiding behind those clouds, here on INCRadio Florida, there is always a sunny side up. And this is where we like to discuss all things Florida, right? We like to talk about the beaches, the swamps. We like to talk about the theme parks and even the hidden gems. And actually, one of our favorite topics, which I can never forget, is food, right? We usually talk about all those things that are Florida and the things that make Florida, Florida and our sunshine state shine. But today we're going to hit the road. And that means literally and figuratively. So what do I mean by that? We're going to discuss some valuable lessons, and there are always valuable lessons and experiences. So the valuable lessons that we're going to be discussing today is going to come from our driving lessons, because I'll tell you what, here in the Sunshine State in Florida, the driving experience is really unique. So before we actually buckle our seatbelts, and we're going to talk, before we buckle our seatbelts and talk about our topic today, let's go ahead and cruise over on the west side of our state, and where one of our lovely hosts can introduce herself and even give us some international love.
Yes, thank you, Sister Joy. Hello, this is Sister Audrey Tapalas coming to you from Tampa, Florida. And I have a little mini me with me here today, joining us momentarily. Say hi, baby Jay. He says hi. Yes, we want to greet all of our viewers around the world, because I know no matter where you're from, whether it's good afternoon, good morning, good evening, we would like to thank you so much. Hola, hello, guten tag. Thank you always for joining us on INCRadio Florida, where we are always on the sunny side up of things here. But yeah, we've got an interesting topic, and I think it comes from being in a state where there is a lot of tourism. So it's not just your residents. And then we kind of talked about it pre-show, but the varying regions of Florida have a different situation for each one. But before we get started on our topic today, we do want to say a hearty welcome and howdy to our brother Jim over there in Pensacola. Hello, brother Jim.
Good morning, Sister Audrey and Sister Joy and baby James. It's so good to see you. You're looking as handsome as ever. Thank you all for letting me join the show. I like to come on for the gardening and planting things. I do feel very confident in my knowledge of that. But when it comes to driving, I will say the older I get, the more I appreciate that maybe I'm not the world's greatest driver like I used to think I was.
No, it's funny as you say that as you're getting older, but here in Florida, I don't think that the age is like something that is a variable that people are considering, right? When it comes to driving. So that's this is going to be interesting. So I'm a Florida native, right? So when it comes, I have seen quite a broad I want to say like maybe more of a broad spread of different types of drivers. So how about you, Brother Jim? How long have you been driving here in Florida?
Oh, I've been here for about 10 years. I grew up in Ohio, and I've lived in California and Texas and Tennessee, and Florida drivers. I'll just say it right out from the get-go. You better have your game on when you're driving in Florida. I was really surprised, and like you mentioned, I came down here from Tennessee, and in Nashville, obviously you get a lot of tourists, and I think that's always a challenge. And I've been there where I've been visiting a new city, and you get confused, and you do those erratic. Oh, I needed to go to that exit over there. So in your panic, you cross over 3 lanes and things like that. Here in Florida, it's everywhere because we have all these beautiful beaches. We have all these destinations. We are a destination state. So the complications that come with the people who really don't know where they're going, and chances are they've probably been driving for a long time, and chances are they've got kids in the back seat who are probably, wearing on their nerves if they come all the way from Wisconsin or someplace like that. It really is. It's a challenge, and like I mentioned, as you get older, it can be harder to drive sometimes. This is the retirement destination. So we have these 2 great challenges, right? Tourism, and elderly. So
you know what? I think you've nailed that. And when I was saying that there's a broad, broad case of drivers out there, I think you nailed that, right? This is a retirement area. It's a tourism area. And I think that alone, those 2 like categories alone tells you how broad it can be. And as you say, as you're getting older, I feel that in my core. My kids sometimes get on me and they're like, why do you have to leave the house with sunglasses? I must drive with sunglasses. We're the sunshine state, and just driving and we have such beautiful sunshine, y'all, but the sun can get me sometimes, and it can hinder sometimes when you're driving. So for me, I need to have my sunglasses when it comes to that. Now, Brother Jim, you mentioned, if you're coming from a different state, right? And then here in Florida, there's so many spots that you can stop by. We talked about like theme parks, right? We're the theme park also destination. So if you miss a turn, you're like, oh no, I missed a turn. And then you got the kids in the back, you got the family in the back. What would be the courtesy, a courtesy thing to do? Do you just go ahead and go, oh, let me just, like go on over 3 lanes down and try to hit that, the next turn? Or, I mean, what would you say is the best?
Well, I think that is
driven in other states.
Patience. I mean, it's really, it's kind of funny, like when you're traveling, you kind of lose that idea of, guess what? There's roads everywhere. This is the last road. And to your point, yeah, there's going to be another exit, and yeah, you may add 5 or 10 minutes, but we all have Google Maps, and we all have ways to re-navigate. I think my wife, she's been here for quite a while now. I think she's been here for about 15 years, and but coming from the Philippines and driving here in the United States. And by the way, we were in the Philippines, and my hat's off to Filipino drivers, because any place, and I travel down to South America. I will say the United States, after you're living or staying in a foreign country, like the Philippines or down in Venezuela, and you come back here, it's like everything's in slow motion when you come back here.
Oh, 100%. Especially because, I mean, I haven't been to the last time I was in the Philippines was pre-pandemic, so I don't know if it's changed at all since 2020. But I mean, you can touch the leg of the person in the other car. I mean, that's there were lanes on the road. There were no such thing as following, like staying in your lane. So coming here was just, I mean, over there is anxiety inducing for sure. But then coming back, it was just like, oh, okay. Especially coming to
everybody follows the rules.
yeah.
What
Yeah.
rule?
But there, it's like, and I always ask my wife's dad to drive when we're in the Philippines, and it's like a joke because we've been there a few times, and they're like, "Would you like to drive?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to drive the car."
You get it for your reaction.
Exactly. But it is, they're highly anticipatory. It's like people do, and things where they'll pass people and everything like that. And just because there's so much congestion, especially in the city, there's like this anticipation. Like people will test the waters because who has time to wait for a red light? They just go ahead and they kind of get in this groove. But at first I was overwhelmed, like I said, completely anxiety ridden. But do you kind of realize there is a flow, and honestly, I think drivers there, they pay more attention because everything's in play. Like even a lane that doesn't really exist, that's in play now. You can go over
I
there.
think that's a valuable lesson for us here in Florida, right? We got to pay attention. So whether you are visiting or it's just so key to pay attention. And I love how you mentioned, there are roads everywhere. If you miss the turn, it's okay. We'll get there as long as we get there safely, right? So, I mean, if we miss the turn, there's another road. It's okay. You don't have to, cut off everybody in the next 3 lanes.
Just right. No, I want to touch on that, Brother Jim, because when when we were in the Philippines, I was looking for a speed sign, like a speed limit, because and truly, there was none. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. We were driving a lot in like Makati, Manila area. So, but even then, I was looking for a speeding sign, and there was none to be found. And so, I mean, to your point, you're so right. Everyone kind of has this unsaid chemistry on the road. And it's like, it's amazing because as hectic and as crazy it is, I don't remember seeing an accident.
Yeah,
that's there.
That is it. And it reminds me, especially in those like busy intersections where there's like 5 lanes merging into this one central square or something like that. It reminds me of back in my school days, like the red blood cells going through veins and stuff, because you see, it's like they're not going at the same rate of speed. Obviously, you got all these little motorcycles and you have smaller vehicles, larger vehicles. And like, as far as speed, it kind of depends on what you're driving. I think most of the big trucks, they're kind of staying over, and of course, if there's a stoplight or something like that, hey, you're on a motorcycle, you don't have to wait in traffic. You can kind of just go around.
There's moving in and out. Yeah.
Cells just kind of going at different rates of speed, but they're all working their way through all these veins all through this system.
Yeah. Good point. Like you say that they're driving all these different things, and that's similar here, right? There's different things. I mean, because we're all in different parts of Florida, right? Like I can say here in the central part, we've got tons of trucks. And these are 18-wheeler trucks that are transporting goods, from different parts of the state. So we've got things like that. And then, of course, because Central Florida, we're home to many of the theme parks, we've got people driving in, things like 2-wheelers, 2-wheelers on the road. And then we have some nice luxury vehicles on the road. So it's that mix. But kind of going back to what you said, like like in the Philippines, there's this chemistry, right? Unspoken chemistry. Can we bring that here? Because sometimes, I mean, you got people on 2-wheelers that are cutting off our 18-wheelers, and it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And, if you're driving a 4-wheeler, whether it's a sedan or, or even, an SUV, you're like, whoa, at what point, you're like, okay, you want to be defensive, you want to be patient, but I also got to go where I need to go. So do you see a difference? I mean, okay, that's how it is here in the central part. So going on the west side, and you've come from the northern side, right, of Florida. Do you see that mix?
I don't know. How is it there in the Panhandle for you, Brother Jim?
Well, we're not nearly as populated as around Orlando. I mean, there's just so much traffic, and coming out of Tampa. But in a way, it's like that different challenge where you can get a much higher rate of speed. You're not on I-4 in a parking lot. You're here you're actually able to go at a high rate of speed, which kind of adds a little bit of danger, right? And especially as you're driving down the road and you're cruising along at 70 miles an hour or whatever, and suddenly grandma, who decides is going, very slow, and you kind of wonder, all these cars are moving around, but you suddenly have to slow down, and you kind of have to observe what's going on. But driving to me, and I gotta say, growing up in Ohio, it was the same was true. Where there wasn't nearly the congested. I grew up in a rural area, and like the big thing there was, and sadly, it was easy to go 70 miles an hour on a curvy country road because you might drive for 5 minutes and not see anyone. So, especially for young drivers and stuff, it's kind of dangerous because all the things that you learn as you drive, as far as wet pavement, or like in Ohio or with snow, people can tell you these things, but it is kind of that experience you have, and you realize I don't have the same kind of control. And I think that's, that comes into play like there. And in Tennessee, it was certainly just this big range of people who were just, they kind of had that mix of country roads, but you had all these curvy hills, side roads, and things
mountains up there.
Yeah, and like I said, one area you might be flying around a curve, and hey, there's a cow that's out, and that's a whole nother thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
here too, we got some wildlife that decide that they want to cross the road too. All different kinds of wildlife. We got little ones and big ones, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, so being Florida grown, I come from 2 different regions, and I can say I've touched home in 2 different regions of Florida. So Jacksonville, I mean, it's such a vast land area, so you're traveling longer distances, but if it's 30 miles, you're truly it will take you 30 to 35 minutes. Easy math. Moving down to Tampa, my goodness, I mean, 12 miles, if you leave at 5-minute difference at 7 o'clock, it'll be driving 12 miles at 7 a.m. Monday through Friday will take you 45 minutes.
Oh, yes.
15 minutes later at 7:15, hour and a half for 12 miles. And that to me is insane.
Yes, great perspective. Great perspective. So that's something, I mean, definitely, whether you're living here or if you're visiting, that's definitely something to consider, because that 12 miles, if for me, that's what I look at. I usually look at distance too. I'm like, okay, it's only about 12 miles from here, but depending on where you are, if you're in the heart of the city, there in Tampa, for sure.
Yeah. So
if you're in Pensacola,
right. I mean, going through like Tampa, I would say it's definitely a more concentrated city population. So your obstacles for traffic are other drivers. And so, I mean, being here, compared to Jacksonville, it's taught me how to be a little more defensive on the road. Like, trust nobody. Because if car next middle car lane is going 60 miles an hour constant, the left lane, I mean, it's that unspoken rule of the road, right? Like, typically the left lane is a fast lane.
Yes.
Nah. And
Wait a minute.
whichever lane is moving.
So the left lane is, yes, the fast lane, but isn't it also the passing lane? Isn't that the
Yes.
lane you're supposed to go? So by courtesy, right? If someone kind of drives up behind you, right? What do? We're supposed to move over, right? Isn't that the courtesy rule for that
Right.
left lane?
Yeah, I don't know how that got lost, but yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
But it's just like, it's such a fundamental, and it keeps everything flowing. You know, I think that this idea, and of going fast, like highly aggressive drivers, we've seen that where people are zigzagging and they're passing someone in the far, right lane because there's somebody in the middle lane. That to me is probably one of the most dangerous things, because
100%.
yeah, if you don't have a plan, and I think that's another big thing. We're so blessed now with all these navigational tools that you can use. And right now I'm planning on traveling up to Ohio, and you talk about cities, and it's a far enough distance that I can kind of choose these different ways. There's a couple different states that I can branch off into, and maybe it'll add 10 or 15 minutes. But the big thing, and I especially think this is true for Florida, because the majority of our major cities are coastal, and we love our beaches. We love having all that view. I love driving over a bridge and looking over the water. I mean, it's lovely. But bridges in themselves, there's all these choke points, right? Where all these people are having to get across, and at a certain point they're all working there, whether and live, coming out of the city. So like my plans to go up to Ohio, I get it. If I go the fast route or the most direct route, I'm going to go through Montgomery, Birmingham. I'm going to go through Nashville. Nashville, huge choke point. I don't know. I used to have a joke. It's like they never wanted the North to invade the South again. They've only got like this bridge, right? Like everything comes into this one bridge. Why couldn't they build another bridge across the river? I don't know, but that's my theory on it. So going through Nashville, if you're anywhere near rush hour, whether it's the morning or the afternoon, forget about it. Everybody's going to converge to go across the river at one point. And the same is true in Cincinnati in a lot of ways, except Cincinnati does have a lot more bypasses.
More veins on the
invasion or something. I don't know, but they have alternatives. But planning it out. But I'm looking at that, and I thought, I look at the map and I was like, I can go through Chattanooga and go all the way up because I got a brother on the eastern part of Ohio. And I go up 77, and there's nobody there. I could probably point the car in the right direction, take a nap, and go down the interstate, and the car would be fine. It's that much easier. And I think, planning your trip out and anticipating choke point, because the downside of these navigational tools it's going to tell you the shortest route.
Yes.
And if you're looking at it at 8:00 at night, and you're like, oh, that's great.
Thinking you're prepared, right? You're like, let me
at 9:00. Look at it and you'll see that suddenly what, to Audrey's point, what was just 12 miles. Oh, 12 miles. That's only
Right.
It's going to suddenly take an hour, just because you're probably dealing with some type of choke point that's going to cause a lot of problems. And the compounding thing with the choke point are everybody who lives there knows it's a choke point. So
I know. Isn't that funny?
As quickly as possible. So it's like the ideal place for an accident, right?
Yes. But something that blew my mind, and it's something that I learned on typically most navigating apps, you can use there's an adjustment or a filter to put on there of what time you want to arrive, and it'll ding you what time you should be leaving. And so based on the time.
I got to
So
write it down for my wife. Is there any way you can lie about it, but like an extra hour? You still got to get in the car. So that's
right.
I did not know that. I didn't.
Yeah, but it'll give you, especially like it'll give you an alarm to let you know what time you need to be leaving. And for me, I need like 3. I need okay, we're in the window where we need to start picking up the pace. That's the first one. The second alarm is, okay, you've got 10 minutes. Like that means you need to be leaving the home, like you getting into the vehicle now. And then the last one is, okay, now you really got to go. Like you should be buckled up, the engine should be running, and you should be leaving that spot. So it's really great. It's helped me a lot.
Well, I'm gonna ask because I think I tell people on a regular basis the last time I was on time for anywhere was before my son was born. Now, now that you're, you got the kid, I gotta think, that whole anticipation of getting somewhere, how you've kind of adjusted your planning. It sounds like you've done a lot already with the whole.
Yeah, no, I mean, like hindsight, like driving was already like I love driving. I especially at night, I would prefer to drive at night just because there's nobody on the road. But now, like driving with a baby, it adds a whole nother factor. I am constantly on alert, looking around like, okay, is this driver being pretty consistent? Is this driver looking like they're distracted, and learning to really like truly stay away? I mean, it wasn't as big of a deal then. It's a huge deal now that we've literally got precious cargo on the road.
Yes, precious cargo you can add on to the driving experience.
Yeah, and so like I've, instead of getting ready like 30 minutes before the time I've had to leave, I'm finding myself getting ready 2 hours before. And
you gotta do the backwards math.
and then making sure like I've learned to make sure we're all presentable leaving the house. I have to get myself ready first and then him, because me I can control. Him I cannot. So it's the backwards math has definitely like allotted more time. And then I mean, so 2 hours we've had to get ready, and then I would anticipate just 45 minutes being there, just because this little guy, he was really great like in his car seat until he hit 6 months, and then he absolutely hated being in the car seat by himself. And so it's not the car seat is fine, but when we're still debating, is it worse with the fact that he can't see us? If it's just either myself or my husband, is it worse that he can't see us at all, and he feels like he's alone back there? Or if we talk to him, but he has no way of reaching out or making sure that we're there. So he does not
be that mix. Oh, it could be that mix. I remember with one of I don't remember which kid it was, but brother Billy, when he was driving my husband with one of the kids, I remember we were on our way to the Jacksonville area. And he had to, the whole time, I don't know what I was doing. Maybe I was with the other kid. He had to hold the hand while he's driving. Thankfully, he's a guy. So he's driving with his hand in the back seat, holding either the shoe, the hand, and it just, but it's a good thing. You keep your child restrained, please, especially here in Florida, guys. It's so tempting when your baby is like, I don't like it, but yes, please keep the baby restrained. It's the safest thing to do, especially for our little ones. And, with that said, can you guys believe that we've reached the top of the hour?
I know.
I'm having a lot of fun with you guys. I mean, we've already reached it's 10 o'clock. And I mean, I want to keep going and talking because it's always such a delight to talk to you and then to have all of our viewers join in. And, it's so nice to see too, a lot of our viewers here on our YouTube live chat. A lot of them are wishing everyone please drive safely. It looks like it's definitely the important thing to do. no matter where you're coming from. And before we wrap things up, we always like to send our love and our greetings to our dear brother Eduardo V. Manalo, our executive minister, brother Angelo Arani Manalo, our CEBSI CEO and CFO coordinator, brother Manly and Dyer, our executive producer, brother Wally Tarai, our station manager, and Kuya Tech over there. Thank you for taking care of us. I'm Sister Joy here in the central part of our Sunshine State in Florida. Thank you for joining us. We have Sister Audrey on our west side of Florida. We're so delighted to have you. And most of all, we're so thankful, Brother Jim, for having you, who's over there representing our panhandle and sharing many of his driving experiences. We love you all. Thank you all for joining us. Stay tuned, because up next, we would love to tell you all about all the many upcoming activities. So be sure that you always stay tuned and connect us, and be sure to join our channel. We love you all. Have a great day.